Hello, happy people. How are you doing? So, welcome once again to our programming series. And this particular series will focus on Python. Okay. So, this will be a long series covering most of the Python topics, most of the general programming topics. And we will take time to deal with them, both theoretically and practically. And then we'll even offer some insights on your experience, something that will help you to have good industry experience. So at some point, I will share my own perspective, my own experiences, something that will guide you, especially as a beginning programmer, or maybe as a beginner. Okay. So welcome to this course. So here, I'm going to leave this for some time. Maybe we can pause. So this is the course outline. This is what we will focus on this video, right? So it starts very easily there. So I see how to make sure I begin with the most important topics, and I try as much as possible to lay them out accordingly. We don't have to skip something. For example, we don't have to uh, take these operators downward, because once we understand data types, the next thing will be operators. Why? Because when we talk about variables, we need to understand what data types are, and we need to understand what operators are. So I took time to make sure that I properly arrange this so that we don't go back and forth, right? So welcome again to this course. I'm so happy that you subscribed. I'm so happy that you are following. So I'm going to give my best. That's my word. I'm going to give all my best to make sure that whether you're in a university learning programming, whether you are in college learning programming, whether you are just learning on your own, or maybe you want a job, a software developer position or whatever, okay? This is the best place to be, and I'm going to give you everything that will help you, especially as a beginner. Then we'll start from beginning, get to the intermediary part, then mostly the advanced, okay? So stay on. I'll introduce some data structures and algorithm topics later on, but let's start it very easily. So now, first things first, what is a program? What is a program? And what is programming, right? So a program, normal easy definition, a program is a simple set of instructions that you give to a computer, all right, to accomplish a task. So who gives this command? Who gives this instruction? Is it a teacher? Is it a musician? No, it's a programmer, right? So a program, you can call a program software, okay? You can call a program code, right? So a program is a set of codes, a set of instructions written in a language that the computer will understand and given to the computer to perform a particular task, right? So it's not English per se, but it's something that the computer will understand, and it's very easy to understand. So you have to like understand what the computer understands and send it to the computer, and then he performs his task more efficiently, okay? So there are popular programs. This, for example, calculator. This is written as a program, then it launches this, okay? This is a program, okay? It's written like a code, and then once you launch it, it launches a calculator. Let me show you another kind of program. So let me just get to Google. So here, this website is a program, google.com. This is a program. This is a website. This is a program, right? So, yeah, so that's what's happening. So this is a program, and a web program, and then we have different programs. The thing with programs is that you write the instructions and then the computer does the work for you, right? So that's a program. And then a programming is the act of writing that program, right? It's just the act of doing it. And then they are done by professionals, experts like you, who are, you start from beginning, but before you know it, you'll be an expert at this. Now, a programmer is someone who writes computer programs, okay? Software, right? So let's get to this one. So we are done with this one. We are done with that one. So programming languages and Python. We have several programming languages, okay? So programming languages, what are they? They are actually the language you speak to the computer, the kind of language you write to the computer to understand and perform that task. So if you use French, the French language, it will not work. The computer will not understand, right? If you use the if you use French, you won't understand. If you use German, you use Swedish, you use English, you won't understand. So you have to use a particular programming language for it to understand. So there are several programming languages, just like Spanish, Finnish, and the rest of them. There are several programming languages. We have programming languages like Python, okay? There is no best programming language, okay? It depends on what you want to accomplish with a language, okay? Several languages can do the same thing, but there are others that do many things, vast, okay? So we have programming languages like Python, we have JavaScript, we have Java, okay? JavaScript and Java, they are not the same thing, okay? We have JavaScript, we have Java, okay? We have PHP, we have R, we have C, C++, we have C Sharp, we have ASP.NET, okay? Which other one? We have other programming like Ruby. You understand? I think I've mentioned R, okay? So we have several languages, okay, and they serve different purposes, okay? Common ones, Python, Java, PHP, JavaScript, Ruby, okay? And the rest of them, they are all useful for your programming, okay? So, but in this course, we'll focus on how you can use Python to program. Python is not a snake, it's not a serpent. Here, Python is a programming language, okay? So we will learn it as a programming language, and then it's very sweet programming language, okay? So one of the definitions of Python, let me just, Python is a popular programming language which was created by Guido van Rossum in 1991. Okay, so it's been around for a long time. In 1991, that's over 30 years ago. So it's been around for a long while, right? So yeah, so but let's get to their website. So we go to Python official website, python.org, right? And then we have this information. So or let me check how they define it here. So Python is a programming language that lets you work quickly and integrate systems more effectively. So see how easy it is just to type 1 divided by 2. It gives you, you don't have to, I mean, it doesn't have to be very, very complicated, intuitive interpretation. So let's check some other things. So we can run Fibonacci series using Python. I mean, and it's very, very easy to do that, okay? So we have the numbers here and functions defined and blah, blah, blah. So we can also run lists, arrays, okay, and then print and iterate through them, right? So, yep. So that's a lot of things we can do with Python, okay? We can loop on lists and of course, so many things. You can just simply print out, okay? I mean, hello world or blah, blah, blah. And then we can allow the user to, um, let the user to, provide whatever input. We don't have to provide it programmatically if you are building a simple console application. So Python has a lot to offer, okay? But I'm going to tell you the real beauty of Python soon enough. So, but I just want to keep it cool and follow our step by step. So I can also cancel this. So what are the uses of Python? Python is mostly a a server-side application, what people would call back-end web development programming language, right? So what Python does is it's used for so many things. Python is used for software development, it's used in mathematics, it's used for web development, it's used for system scripting. So we can see the list here. It's used for web development, and then we have popular frameworks like Django. We have other ones like Flask, you know, without being biased, I've used these two. Then we have other one, Tornado, but I've not used these ones, Pyramid. Very versatile with Django and Flask. And but the only difference is Django came out first, Flask came out just to try to correct some errors. But yeah, you can't entirely take out Django. Django is still very fantastic. The difference is this Django is opinionated, and then while this one is not. So Django or Python can be used for web development, where you can use any of these frameworks and then you still serve the same purpose. So Django, Flask, Bottle, Pyramid, Tornado, and the rest, right? So Django also can be used for desktop application developments, that like the one we just showed, the calculator. This is GUI. This is a GUI. That's a calculator. That's a GUI application development. So you can use Python using Tkinter to do that, or PyQt. I've used Tkinter, PyQt, and Kivy, and even WX, but I didn't spend time on this. Okay, so all these are great frameworks for GUI development. Tkinter actually comes with Python, so you don't need to install anything just to start using Tkinter. Yeah, from this import that, you know. All right. Then we use Python for scientific and numeric computations, right? You can say mathematics and all those things. So we can have SciPy, which is SCI, which is just like science Python. We have pandas, we have IPython, we also have matplotlib. We also have smaller ones like NumPy, you know, for data science as well. So for some reasons, they just put these two, but I can separate them. Python is also used for data science, where you get to use my pandas, you use NumPy, Matplotlib, and the rest, okay? So data science, data analysis, so it can be really done with Python. Python is also used in AI, you know, so a good Python foundation really helps you for all those. Now, for software development, Python is used for it. Python is also used for system administration using Salt, OpenStack, and the rest of them, right? Just an addition. So what can Python actually do? Before I talk about that, why do we really need Python? Okay. The first reason why we need Python, Python has a very clean syntax, a very clean syntax. Let me just write something. So with Java, okay, you may have some things, and then you have something like probably maybe you even have a class first, and you have a class sample. And you have something like this for Java programmers. I think I'm just trying to write Java there. So let me use this. So you can have a main method here, public static void main, and then you have string. That's an array arguments, something like this. So, but you close that. So in here you can even have system.out.print line for printing it on a particular line. Then you have to use semicolon. Okay, and then you use this welcome to Java, something like this. Okay, so you may even have to import package on top here. Now this is this will at the end of the day just print something like this for us. Welcome to Java. This is what it will print for us. So, but imagine this in Java, you have to keep to the rules, end every statement with semicolon, keep to the rules, have a main method that must run the program. If there's no main method, then this particular file will not run. Maybe there should be a main method somewhere else, and then you're able to call this. So it must have this and all those core details that you must, and then the main method will not be empty. You should actually have all this, and then system.out.println. You can see how long it is. I'm not in any way trying to dismiss the fact that Java is a very great and wonderful language. It was my first language, and actually people say if you don't know Java, then you don't know programming. So I actually advise you to learn Java because it's very sweet. Once you understand the syntax, it's really easy to do. So, but imagine this block of code, the number of lines, the number of codes to type. With Python, all you need to do is to type this. With Python, what you need to do, just type print and this, and then you have this. So that's just a one-liner, and 1, 2, 3, 4, just a print statement does that. So imagine how sweet it is to learn Python. So one thing I'll talk about Python is the syntax is really clean and easy to learn. It depends on indentation. We'll talk more about that later. It's really easy to learn, and it's almost like English language. Can you imagine print? Already you know it means print, you know? So it's really easy to use, okay? And really easy to understand. So that's one thing. The syntax is very clean and easy to use, right? So another thing with Python is that it works very well. It works very well on different platforms, on different operating systems. It works fantastically well on Windows, Mac, Linux, Raspberry Pi, etc., on all the operating systems. Now, the cleanliness of Python syntax makes you write fewer lines than other programming languages. I think we already discussed that. Then it works like a procedural language. It works like an object-oriented language. It works like a functional language, and it also works like an MVC language. So Python is really vast, okay? And we are currently on version 3.9. It will soon get to 4. So there was version 1, version 2, and we're on version 3 towards the end. Now, what can Python do? Okay. So we already discussed that, but then I need to add 2 or 3 more things. Now, Python is also used for game development, and then you also use Python for hacking, okay, for creating bots. Okay, some of you like to create bots, especially on Discord. You can create bots. So Python is mostly used for that. Okay, there are several websites that have been built with Python. So aside its use in hacking, I can recommend it for ethical hacking. So don't use Python to hack and steal someone's information. Use it for ethical hacking. Ethical hacking is different. It's actually the legitimate kind of hacking where you hack to help a situation, right? So that's all I can talk about for that part where we had uses of Python while learning Python. So it has plain syntax, powerful, easy to learn, just easy to understand, just like English, general purpose. Okay, you can use it for a wide variety of purposes, right? So that's all about 1 to 4, and we've cleared those ones. Now, the next interesting thing we'll discuss now will be text editor and IDE. So let me just try to type here, text editor. Okay, so what is a text editor? I just want, okay, yeah, I've seen it. So it's a tool that allows a user to create and revise documents in a computer, right? All right, so that's really nice. So I might just check something, code editor. Okay, so now a code editor is a more advanced version of a text editor. Okay, so I mean, code editor, text editor, but we can use them interchangeably, right? So, but I just want to pass this information, be it code editor or text editor, please Microsoft Word is not a text editor. Okay, when you open Microsoft Word, it's not a text editor, right? Your Microsoft Word is not a text editor. All right, so you have to know text editors like Notepad on your computer, Notepad++, we have text editor. So what are the uses of text editor? Text editor is used to write a code, right? You write programs on a text editor, then you execute the programs on a command prompt, right? So that's a basic. I can repeat that. So you use a text editor like Notepad to write the code, to write your software, to write your program. Then you use your command prompt to execute it. The reason you use your command prompt to execute it is that the text editor does not have the facilities to execute your program, to debug your program. It doesn't have built tools inside of it to do those things, okay? It doesn't even understand which language you're writing on. So it's just basically for something like this, just lay out information. So, but I mean, it's good. You can save a Python file using an extension. You can save a PHP file using a text editor with a PHP extension, right? And different other programming languages. Now, so a text editor is a step better than normal word processing files or programs like Microsoft Word. Okay, so, but it's not as good as an IDE, right? So we are going to compare and contrast both of them before we get into this number 6. Now, this is how a text editor looks. So even if you write a program like this, print, and then you print hello world, okay, even if you do this, and then say, one thing you have to know, okay, let me just save this first. So I save this on my desktop and I call it sample.py. So I save it on my desktop and I call it sample.py. Let me remove this for now. Okay, so I've saved it. So there's no way I can click and run it, right? There's no way I can click and run, but this, let me show you how an IDE looks like. I'll explain what an IDE is. So let's say we create a folder here. Okay, we already have, do we? Let me just create a new folder. So we have a folder series. Let me just put it that way. And then I open a code, Visual Studio Code using that. Now this is not a text editor. This is an IDE. So an IDE stands for Integrated Development Environment. Integrated Development Environment. Okay, Integrated Development Environment. Okay, so that's what an IDE stands for. Now, I immediately would like you to see the difference. Let's also create a small file called sample. Let me call this sample. Let me just call this IDE.py. Okay, and then let's create a similar file. Let me just copy it from here to make things faster. Copy and I paste. Okay, so we create this hello world from IDE. So just making a difference there. And with IDE, you can just click here and it runs that file for you. So it's running it now. It runs that program for you. It's coming up, it's loading. So it will run that. So it runs hello world from IDE because an IDE already has tools, different setup, different things. Look at settings, all of them. Explorer, you can search, source control with Git, run and debug, installed extensions. Really, really important. You're able to install different tools and extensions. Then you're even able to test. So it's really nice to use an IDE, But look at this one. I'll show you how to run this in a moment. But then one other thing you should already compare and contrast is the code written in sample is just plain text. I mean, it's just black and white, ugly, I can say, just skeletal, black and white with this kind of font. I don't like it. So, but look at here, it's really nice. And the beauty is, even if we make a mistake here by not closing that, you see you already have errors. It shows you, so you correct your mistake beforehand, right? So it shows you have an error. But say you made a mistake with this, you get into your error. Nobody helps you out. So the help that IDEs provide is really nice also. It helps you to correct your errors beforehand, right? Say you even spell print without T, it underlines and you already know that that file has an error. Okay, at some point, even if you run it, it will tell you the file has an error, you see. Name print is not defined. So that's very powerful from an IDE. You can't even compare it with a text editor now. So that's all. If you don't want to run it that way, you can just say Python. Let me make this bigger so that you see. Okay, I think I can drag that upward. Okay, so okay, I was trying to enlarge that, but okay. So Python, name of the file, what's the name of the file? IDE.py, and it will still print that for you. If we say hello from IDE, and then we run that again, we still have it. So it's very beautiful how it works with all the syntax highlighting. One last thing to show you about the differences. If I want to type maybe I don't remember what I wanted to type, you see suggestion. So it has suggestions for you. Okay, say you want to type if, you have different suggestions. Okay, for, you have different suggestions that will help you, and then it might just complete syntax completing for you. It does that for you to hasten your work and make your work very efficient and fast, right? So that's the beauty of using an IDE. We'll be using an IDE, but first let me show you how to use a code editor for this, text editor. Now to run this file, since it's saved with sample.py, let's see it now. Sample.py, here it is. So sample.py is a Python file. So it's on a desktop. So how do we go there? We type our CMD and CMD open. So first of all, navigate. If you try to run it from here, if you try to say Python sample.py here, to fail because they are not in the same directory, right? So what you do is you navigate to that directory, okay, by using, let me clear screen first. I talked about basic commands, operating system commands. So CLS means clear screen, right? So you can clear screen with that. And then we can move to that directory, CD, which is stands for change directory. So we change from PC directory to desktop directory, okay? And then once we do that, oh, sorry, not clear here. So once we do that, we're able to see if we want to list all the files and all the folders on this directory, you can just type dir, which stands for directory listing. So it lists all of them, what we see on our desktop here. Previously, computers didn't have this desktop GUI interface, very beautiful to just click and open. Okay, we used to do this, and even Linux still does this. So you have to also understand your basic commands here on command prompt operating systems. Now let's look further. So we have series here, then we have sample.py. We want to run this sample.py, right? So how do we do that? So let me clear my screen again. So how do you run that? So py python sample.py, because we are in the desktop, so hello world. And when if we change this and say is from Notepad, okay, so you can immediately see that if we run that again, it will show hello world is from Notepad. So that's the way we can use this. This can actually also run the other file we have inside of series, the one we opened here. You can run this one, hello world from IDE, just to navigate there, and let me show you how to do it. So we have a directory called series there, right? So cd series, and then we run sample.py. Was that called sample as well? No, it was called IDE. So IDE.py. So it runs hello from IDE, right? So that's the way you can use that to properly run your files and then to understand how Python works. So ensure that you save your Python file with .py extension, .py, because it's Python. That's the way the computer will understand it, right? All right. So another thing I'll show you, or I missed it already. I don't know why I missed it already. So some of you might be wondering, how do you install Python? Now you get down here. Sorry, I missed that. So once you get to the python.org, their website, official website, you can click on downloads and then choose download Python, a particular version, okay? A particular version that you have, okay? Or you want, you can download, or maybe look for older versions, okay? Depending if it's Windows, it's safe to just download, or you look for older versions here and download. Once you download, it goes up here and then it gets to your system, okay? So what you do is, if it's in a format you need to extract, you can extract it. Otherwise, just double click it to open. Once it double clicks, let me make sure I add this here on this. Oh, I used to create. Okay, so we should have had this on number here. And download Python. Okay, let me remove it from there. Download Python and Visual Studio Code. Let me just put it install. Install is better. Install. All right, so this is where we are. So once the download is complete, you'll be notified here. You get down to the place the file had been downloaded, then you double click to install. I already installed, so I don't want to go back to do that. Okay, so you get to the first, I think the first or the second installation page, and then you see the screen. Don't rush to click next. Don't rush to click install now, please. Don't rush, because if you fail to check these two things, okay, if you fail to make sure, let me just annotate that. Make sure you check this. Make sure you check this and check this, right? So make sure, let me repeat that instruction. Make sure you check this and check this, because to make life easier for you, okay? The reason is this will help you when you use admin privileges to install Python, and then you have Python everywhere. And also, this is the most important, to add this Python executable file to your path. So you don't need to come and go to, let me return this. You don't need later on to come and start looking for environment variables to go and configure things on your system. You don't need to start going to environment variables, and it's tedious. Sometimes you may not be able to do it. So it's safer while installing. Make sure you check this first, okay? And after checking that, you click on this. You click on this, install now, right? You click on that, and it will start the installation for you, right? So once you do that, let me get to the next screen. Let me remove that. Annotate gone, right? So once you do that, you get to this next screen, okay? So I'll remove this from the screen, all right? So you get to the next screen where you see all this, and then it will install, initialize and install for you. Be patient, just about 3-5 minutes, it will be done. And the last screen will tell you it was successful. So once you have this setup was successful, just know that everything went well, right? So let me erase this from the screen. Just know that everything went well with your installation, and congratulations. Congratulations. Let me stop that annotate. Okay. So once that is successful, congratulations. So you begin to check your Python to ensure that it has been installed properly. You may need to restart your system sometimes if you try and then it's giving an error. You may have to refresh your desktop or restart your system. So, but however, once you are back, this is what you do. Let's open our CMD again. So we have our CMD. What did I open? All right, we have our CMD. So how do you test a Python installation if it was successful? So what you do is just type Python on the command line, and it will give you an interface for you to begin to write your programs. Like the one I copied earlier on. This, yes, print hello world. We just print hello world here. Okay. So we can on console. So it prints hello world. So you can actually practice your programming, your Python programming directly from here. So it shows you that Python works, right? And it shows you the version 3.9.0 and different things, right? So let's exit out of it, exit with brackets, and it's off. All right, another way you can test your Python if it's working is to check the version by doing Python -- version, and that looks good. So once you see this, know that your installation has been successful, right? So we can close this. Now, another thing you have to install, which we already did here, this, you need Visual Studio Code. There is PyCharm. You can use official from Python. You can use Sublime Text. That's another IDE. We have Atom. Atom was really good was really sweet for me at the time. I used Atom until I started working in an organization and they told me everybody has to use Visual Studio Code. So once I came here, I couldn't go back to Atom, but Atom is really fantastic as well. So these are different IDEs. We have Notepad++, we have the rest of them, okay? So we want to download this. So get to Visual Studio Code, get to their website, and then download. Okay, so that one is as easy as ABC. Just download. And did I close that? Shouldn't have. So so once you do that, let me just stop share for a while. Okay, so once you do that, let me open those files again. We have up to 5. Okay. Okay, I'm in the right place now. All right. So let me share my screen again. Yep. Okay. All right. So I'm sharing my screen again. All right. So when installing Visual Studio Code, ensure that you have patience. Wait upon the first or the second screen. You will see this when you are beginning to install it after your successful download. Ensure, please, ensure that, let me annotate this, ensure that you check this. Very important. This is the most important. Ensure you check this. And you can also add this and ensure that these are already checked. All of them, make sure that add to path. It will make life simple for you. So what's the point? Just check everything and then next, then finish, okay? Every other thing, just accept, then finish, okay? That's how to install it, right? So let me erase this out. And there was one here. I don't know if I can find it now. All right, so it's gone. So this is one thing I advise you to do. Why? Because you have a reason you need it now. In any folder, you'll be able to, in any folder you are, you'll be able to see this option, open with code, okay, which is fantastic. So if you didn't check that, then you'll not see this option. Make sure you check it to make life simple for you. However, there's another way of opening it, but it might be difficult for a beginner. So just make sure you keep everything right? Okay, so let's move on from there. And we have our, so we've completed this as well. So the next thing, okay, we have done this. We have created a Python file, program in text editor, and executed it in command prompt, right? So we have also done this. I talked about dir, which means directory listing. I talked about CLS, which means clear screen. I talked about CD, which means change directory. A couple more, right? So you can read up on that as well. Now, we also discuss how to execute Python program in an IDE, right? So maybe I can just do that again. So to execute a Python program in an IDE, make sure you open the folder, and then if you're in the right folder, and then you have this file like this. So the name of the file is IDE. If you use bash, look up here. If you have git bash, you can install git bash, right? So just type git on website. Let me just show you. So we can install Git just by doing this, Git, and then we have Git, right? So you get to here, and then you download for Windows. You can as well download it. So you can click here, download, install it. It's very easy to do that. So once you have that, you can have a Git terminal here. Okay, so you can use this, and you can use shortened commands. Like instead of Python, you use Py, you use clear instead of CLA. So otherwise, if you still have command prompt, use it or use PowerShell, right? So it's very easy. So with this, you can either type Python, the name of the file, which is ide.py, and it will run. Even if you type py, py, then the name of the file ide.py, it will still run, okay? But you have to select which one and make it a default, okay? I use git bash as my default. So this is how to execute a Python program on an IDE. What more? Okay, so let me look at something else we have to discuss. So a statement. Let me just talk about a statement briefly. Now, a statement is a simple program that you write. Okay, it's a program like the hello world we write. That's a simple statement. There are various kinds of statements. You start from that basic statement, and then we grow into different things, right? So to write a statement in Python, all you need to do is maybe use the print keyword, and then it will bring out that statement. There are several things you'll accomplish with this. Now, that is discussed. Let me close this. We don't need this again. What else can I close? So downloads, close. We don't need that again. Okay, so yep. So we'll come back to statement, but I want to talk about new line. So say you wanted to have hello, each of them on 3 different lines, like this, hello from IDE. How can you do this? How can you possibly do this with Python? Okay, so to do this with Python, if you break like this, you are already seeing the error. So this is an error. And then you can equally click here if you've seen this triangle. So this is an error. This is not good. So if you do that, you can't get to the next line. It can't print for you. So another thing, you might want to do this. Funny. Some of my students will have sense, so they would like to do this. So you can do this. Yeah, hello from IDE, and then you actually remove this first one. So hello from IDE, right? So that looks good, but there's no point printing it 3 times. There's something called new line character. Okay, character in Python, right? So how do you create that new line character? So another way you may attempt to do it would be to, how would I even? So, I mean, you can attempt different ways to try to break this line, but you still have errors, okay? So the best way to achieve this is to use a new line character, okay? So you can use a new line character. So we can have, sorry, let me put it here. We can have new line. So if we run this, so you can see hello, then it drops the other side. Okay, so if you also have the new line here, then you print what we wanted to print before. Hello from IDE, right? Hello from IDE. Different lines. So at any point you need different lines, use \n, which is a new line character, right? Throughout your Python programs, right? Okay, So let me also discuss double quotes and single quotes. They really don't make any significance in Python. Okay, so you don't have to worry about it, but just be consistent. If you are using double quotes, use it consistently along your program. If you are using single quotes, make sure you use it consistently. I love to use single quotes, okay, because I don't have to press shift before pressing that particular quote, right? So it's very easy, but some people argue that single quote is faster. Some others argue that double quote is faster. So, but both work well with Python, okay? The PHP, with PHP, there is something that you really need double quote for, which makes concatenation very easy. So with PHP users, you can always go for double quotes, especially when you are concatenating, so that you have the liberty of joining characters and variables together without having to use the plus concatenation or dot concatenation. All right, so back to business. So we have covered that new line, character, statement. We can always come back to statement. So new line, we have covered that as already. So now, what if the question comes again? What if you were to print convention 2024, and then you were to print Jesus is Lord forever, forevermore. Jesus is Lord. You wanted to print this. So let's see how to print this. So I'll just copy everything. Let me just copy everything. Let me cut it. And then we have a print statement. So normally if I'm typing hello world, this should work, right? Hello world, this should work, hell, right? So I remove the content. If I type, I don't have any errors. So I'm free to paste the content I have. So I just paste it, bam, bam. All right, notice what has happened. There was a quote after Convention 2024. This quote, Jesus is Lord, ends here. But this is a real Python code that we have, quotes that we had before. So now if we try to run this program, problem. Wow. So we have this issue because there are quotes and the computer does not understand you anymore. You have to speak in a language computer understands. So this is a very big problem. So to solve this problem, there are two ways of solving it. There is an easier way, but not the best way. But there is another one that I'd recommend for you, but it's actually the best way. Okay, so that you don't always run away from your problems. Okay, it's best to face your problems once and for all. All right, so this quote begins here, and then suddenly it finds another quote. Were we not supposed to have one quote covering everything, and then we have an ending quote? That's what the program asks you. Wow, so the program understands that everything from here down there is white. It's not understood by the program, so there's an error. So, but this is fine. It could have been fine if you ended it here, right? So that's how the computer understands it. So to solve the problem, the wrong way is to change this to double quotes. To change this to double quotes. So you change this, Lord forever, to double quotes. Okay, so that looks good now. So you change that to double quotes, right? So you have Convention 2024, Jesus is Lord forevermore, amen. Now, but what if the convention committee insists that you must use single quotes? So there is a problem, that lies the problem. So what would you do? So there is a single quote here. So the same way we had backspace and N for new line character, you can just have a backspace again. So this backspace tells the computer to ignore the next quote. Once you give a backspace like this without the N, of course, the N also works. That will make it a new line, but we don't need it for now. So the backspace tells the computer, the program, to ignore the next quote. Don't take this quote as your ending quote. just print it as a string. Any other place you see quotes can be the ending quotes. Okay, so let me do this. So, and maybe I can bring this down a bit. Okay, so here also you need that backspace to ignore. So this backspace ignores the quotes. You put it the backspace just before the quotes. Okay, these are the quotes that are enclosing Jesus is Lord, but this is actually the Python quotes that enclose this the entire string, right? So if we run this, we have our convention 2024 Jesus is Lord forevermore without any issue. So this is what we call escape characters. Escape character. Escape character. Okay, just backspace. That you do. Okay, so for new line character, yeah, has backspace and n. Okay, so note these two very well, right? You can pause and practice as much as you can, right? So that's really good, and I hope you guys really understand that as well. So we have concluded on that new line and escape characters. So the next thing we'll talk about will be we'll talk about comments, right? So once I'm done with comment, maybe we can stop this video and then I'll continue in another video so that it won't be too long for you guys to assimilate. So okay, so a comment. What is a comment? Let's talk about the comment in English language first. So a comment, someone dropped a comment on your picture on Facebook, someone said something, right? So think about comment like that. Somebody wrote something, somebody documented something. So in programming, a comment is, first of all, what someone documents. Okay, you document a program and that's a comment. You say something, that's a comment. Okay, but most textbook will define it. Of course, we'll define it also. So a comment is a set of statements that are ignored by the computer, by the program itself. Okay, so how do I mean? Now we have this. Let me remove this, and then this is my new file. So I want to write something. So I'm writing print hello from the children. So I realized that this works fine, right? Hello from the children. But I realized that some other person who will read my program, maybe I'm working in a company, an organization with two other persons, team members, hundreds of thousands of team members. How will they understand hello from the children? Which children? Perhaps which children? So you should have a way of writing something to document your code and make them understand. So you can use that. Let me change this again back to UK. So you can use that hash key and then just say children are children are John and Samuel from junior school, or maybe from the university. Or maybe from the college. Let me put it that way. So that will take the mind of the programmer. Okay, these children are John and Samuel. Oh, he's talking about John and Samuel. Okay, he understands the program, right? So you can use it to demonstrate what you are talking about. Another way you can use it, maybe you can just this program simply prints a line of a line of text. Python. Okay, so it reminds you. Okay, all right. So you get to write comments like that to document what you're actually having on that particular page. Okay, you can have comments here like this line will print well. Something like that. For each of the lines, you can separate, you understand? So you can have a general program comment on top here that talks about the next thing, so you can have it line by line. So, but this is how you write a comment. So the thing with comments is that it should be ignored by the program itself. So let's run this file. We have so many texts on it now. So let's run it. The only thing that came out is hello from children. It doesn't matter any other thing that changes hello from the main, right? So these other ones are ignored. These other ones are ignored by the program. So that's the beauty of comment. You can actually write some information inside the code that will not be exposed to the user when using your program. Another way you can, you need comments also. There is a program I wrote 10 years ago, and then I went back to this program some time ago, and I found it very difficult to understand some parts. Some parts I didn't comment. I was like, where did this variable come out from? Why did I need to write this? But had it been I took time to explain why I needed to write each line or that particular line, it would have been easier for me even 100 years later to check my program and understand it. So not just that comment is useful for another programmer, it's useful for you as well. Okay, so it helps in documentation. Just think about comment as jotting. You are jotting the important information, you jot them down. Okay, so that's the beauty of comment, but it's always ignored by the computer. Now, another beauty of comment is that, say we had, let me remove all this. Say we had, it's for debugging purposes, of course. So I want to explain it first. Say we had 3 lines. Let me just, I have another line. I have another line. Don't mind, I've seen the error I have. And then I try to finish this one. All right. And then maybe I have this. Okay. Then I have yet another one. Girls. Okay. And this is also. So I'm trying to run this program, but I'm having errors. Where is my error coming out from? So this is what I will do to track if which line that the error came out from. So what I do is I will remove this line. I will comment this line. There's a simpler way of commenting. Just click anywhere on the line, then hold down your control and your slash. It will comment that line, right? You can highlight several lines and do the same thing. It will comment all of them. Like, let me just highlight up to here. How do I highlight? I click left click first, hold down my shift before clicking where I want to stop. Okay, and then control and backslash, right? So that looks good. So, but then I want, is this line the problem? I comment that line and I run it. I still have my error. So that's not the problem. I remove it. I take the other one. Is this line the problem? Let me just print all other lines. Let me just comment out all other lines. Could it be the problem? So, oh my God, so line 1 is not the problem. This one is printing, right? So I understand that that's not a problem. So I might just say, okay, let me comment the first to the third. Oh, hello from girls is actually printing. So line 4 is not the problem. So wow, it's either line 2 or line 3. So I get back, I comment line 2. I run it, and I still see that line 3 has a problem. Okay, I bring back line 2, I comment line 3, and I run it. And I can see that the problems are from line 2 and 3, right? So it helps in debugging. I'm able to debug. Debugging is what we call troubleshooting in networking, in hardware, computing. You understand? So trouble, there is a trouble, then you shoot the trouble. You understand? So you try to find the trouble and solve the problem. Troubleshooting in networking, hardware is really called debugging in software. So that's a very good usefulness of a comment is used to debug programs and find errors and solve those errors so that you solve problems. The whole duty of a software engineer is to solve problems economically by developing high quality software. So if you don't solve problems, if you yourself as software engineer or programmer have problems, I mean, I wonder who solved that for you. because your intention should be to solve the problems for users to use and enjoy your software. Okay, so you use comments to debug some parts of your code in order to find those problems and solve them very, very well, right? So that's another good use of comment. Then another thing I want to talk about, we've been looking at comments, one line. This is called single line comment. There's another kind of comment that is called multi-line comment, where you use this. Okay, if you are using single quotes, just continue with your single quotes. If it's double quotes, make sure it's double quotes, right? So let me run that and see. Okay, so we'll talk about indentation later. So comments, if you have multiple lines of comments, say 100 lines of comments, you don't have to be commenting each line the way we did. So you just have your 3 quotes, either double or single, before the beginning of the comment, and then you have at the end of the comment. So no matter how long this line will be, they are all commented, and we try to run it, nothing shows, right? So this is called multiple or multi-line comment. All right, so I guess that's where we'll draw the curtain for today for now. So I'll come up with another video as soon as possible, and then lots of videos in September, like I promised. So tighten your seatbelt, check the channel always, and get to study along. Okay, my students have this problem. They will understand a particular topic when I teach them, and then they go back home, they play games, they go back home, they watch TVs. I'm not against someone watching television or playing games. I play games a lot too. So, and then they sleep, they forget about actually practicing what they have learned. Okay, so practice makes perfect, especially with programming. Every tiny topic, every little thing you learn, go and be creative. Practice everything. Create your own. If I explained using a weather, when you go explain using something else, do it yourself. Get into errors. It's fantastic if you get into errors and then you come out of that error. You know, oh, this was my error. You correct yourself. You feel more confident. So if you don't practice, you are not going to be a great software engineer. You're not going to be a great programmer. So that's my advice to you guys. Make sure you practice every bit. Don't just look at the video and then like it or something. Just practice it and become the best you can be. All right. Thank you so much. I love you all. Bye for now. Yeah. Thank you.